So I'd like to welcome everybody today. It's great to be back in person, to see everybody's faces. Whether I can't see you're smiling or not, I imagine you are underneath the mask. So welcome to today's special council meeting on Thursday, October 8th, 2020. Donna, can I please have a roll call?
Yes. Mayor Baker?
Here.
Member Bolter?
Here.
Member Neary?
Here.
Member Baszler?
Here.
Member Cornett? Here. Member Burns?
Here.
Member Lynn?
Here.
City Administrator Giffen?
Here.
City Attorney Edge?
Here.
And we have a full house with one virtually. Appreciate everybody being here today. So now please rise for a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Moving on to the mayor's report. First thing I'd like to do, this is I have to properly announce this. Today is a public hearing that will be held to discuss road improvements and obtain comments regarding the proposed use of municipal road aid funds for 2021. This is also a public hearing. What?
You open it up for everything.
He's going to do one at a time.
All right, thank you, Tom. Do we have any comments concerning the municipal road aid funds for 2020 to 2021?
Mayor, I'll just provide a quick background for those in the audience in case they have comment. Nothing really drastic here in terms of road improvement. The reason this is on the agenda is merely to cover a request for some additional money for a project that finished up in the spring and that we worked through with the bills all summer, and we needed to do it in a public setting, so it waited until today. The amount that we're talking about is $4,680.
Mike, what is that? Explain to the public what's that for?
Well, so I'll explain it more of our report.
Okay.
That's all down the road. But that's what the hearing is for. The allocation really funds.
So we're not going to vote on it until you give your...
Correct.
Very good.
Does anybody else have any questions for City Administrator Michael Giffen concerning road aid funds for 2020 2021? We're going to go ahead and close the public comments.
Could you ask the public for comment on road aid funds?
Does the public have any comment on road aid funds for 2020 2021? Thank you very much, sir. Today is also a public hearing which will be held for the purpose of hearing comments from the public regarding the 2020 proposed tax rates. So I imagine this is where we would open up for public comment. The podium is available. Would anybody like to have any comments regarding the 2020 proposed tax rate?
Would you explain changes, if any, from previous year?
So nothing's been changed yet. They'll vote on that on the second reading. 2020 number 12, the fiscal tax rate. What is proposed is a rate of $4.34 per $1,000 of valuation.
Okay.
Which is
down from $4.56 per $1,000.
That's where I was going with that. Thank you.
lucky enough to be able to do that this year. So the podium is still open for anybody who'd like to ask council or myself questions regarding the tax rate. I'll be closing the podium in 3, 2, and 1. Public comments are now turned off. Moving along,
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Down to the mayor's report. First and foremost, I think everybody knows Phil Wiles retired from the city of Dayton for code enforcement back in the 1st of September. I wish him the best of retirement. He was a fantastic employee, and we put out the call for a new one. We are very pleased to bring in Cassie Patterson to the role. She started on Monday, and she's already hitting the ground running. She comes to us from Newport. She's got experience in code enforcement, and we're very excited to have her on our team. So she's not here tonight, first week, so we'll get her in here next time. We really appreciate and are excited to work with Cassie Patterson. Second of all, I'd like to announce that the city building, we've had it closed to public since the onset of the pandemic back in March. I spoke with the police today as well as city administration, and we would like to open that back up to the public starting Monday. So as of Monday, we will begin opening the doors to the public. We do ask that you maintain social distancing, that you wear a mask with it anytime you're inside the building. Keep your distance from folks, but please feel free to use the building and come in and talk to people if you need to. And lastly, the previously contentious time of Halloween, we will be participating in Halloween this year on December 30th, that's New Year's Eve, October 31st, between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m. Feel free to give out candy at your house. I designed what I call the CDS 2020, which is a Candy Delivery System 2020. And it's a 7-foot PVC 2-inch tube, so I can sit and give candy to kids. So get creative with how we celebrate this year, but we're really excited to be able to give the kids a Halloween that they deserve.
Trunk or treat as well?
Trunk or treat, we can do that, can't we?
It's already done.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's already done. It's going to be at the 600 block.
Yeah, it's going to be 500 block across the city building.
Thanks, Bob.
In that parking lot there. I was going to have one of my Main Street board doing it in audience participation, but sorry, Laura, I'm taking your thunder.
I don't mind.
So yeah, we voted last Tuesday to have it, and we're moving it there because we have Tuckery and Nogales in the 600 block now in there, and that would have made it too crowded. So we're going to put it right across the city building. So I guess that's like 521. But yeah, the parking lot across the city building, we'll be doing it in there. And if we have a lot of participation, we're talking with the Baptist Church that might use their parking lot also to keep things spaced out.
Very well done. Any other questions about Halloween or trunk or treat? Well, that is my mayor's report for the day. So now we'll move along to welcoming Mr. Mark Stark. Mr. Stark in the back there. If you can please approach the podium, appreciate that. Mark is extremely involved in the development that is on the riverfront down Manhattan Boulevard. I appreciate you coming today, man.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. And I believe you had some comments you'd like to make, as well as open up to questions regarding the street that we anticipate to be the Berry Street access.
Yeah, let's go ahead and open up the questions if you want. I'm fine with that. I'll be here to answer anything you want to know.
So, Council, I know we've had some questions regarding the Berry Street access ramp. This is a great opportunity to speak with Mr. Stark, so please feel free to ask some questions.
Mayor, I want to make a comment first.
Yes, sir.
I've lived in Dayton for 70 years now. Mr. Stark, I'm going to tell you that's the best I've ever seen that marina look in my life. I commend you and your staff down there. I think the marina is an asset and a plus to the city of Dayton. What you've done down there is enhanced to make the rest of our development on the riverbank possible. I commend you and your staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very nice. We knew that going in, and that's why I kept it. Just to make sure it got that way. Otherwise, we're never going to throw it out there. It looked like shit. Here's the money down there. Here's the main house there.
Hopefully it's making money now.
It's been tough, you know. It's been tough road.
But that's the best I've seen that marina look in 70 years now, so
Thank you.
you've done a great job.
So I guess I'll open up questions. Shoot. So what would be our anticipated date of completion?
I knew that was going to be the #1 question, and I have no answer for it. If you asked me that question last year at this time, I'd have bet my house had been done. Nobody, and I'm telling you, nobody wants to get out of here more than me. I'm tired of cleaning your streets. I'm tired of mowing the grass for a mile. I've had enough. I want to get done and get out of here. And I'm not being facetious or nothing. I appreciate everything. You guys have been great to work with, but we're just not getting the dirt. We're in a damn pandemic. They shut our jobs down. It's fucking a disaster. We get very little dirt. What my trucks are hauling anymore is building debris that we're dumping in the marina back to the back. Concrete.
Let me
I've been hauling for our work for weeks, months.
let me rephrase the question. If you had,
It would take me about, I would have thought we'd hit it this year.
no, I'm just saying, when you do
I need-
start on, you know, a time frame when you do start on it, is it gonna
Right.
take 3 months, 4 months, 5 months?
From the time I started working down there,
Yeah.
3 months at most.
I think it's a good idea for everybody to understand exactly what we're talking
It's
about.
just the dirt is the project. It's only 300 or 400 feet of street.
Where do you gotta get this dirt from?
Someplace over in Cincinnati, I would guess, is where most of it's come from so far. UC, downtown, FC Stadium, we got some from there. But see, these jobs were bid last year or 2 years ago, and all we're doing now is cleaning them up. It's not, we can't use it in the road. I gotta have consistent dirt so they can test it regularly and everybody will be happy. Otherwise, I'll never get the roads approved.
Do you see why by not getting this ramp done is hurting our city, it's hurting our central business district? It's
Well,
actually,
hold on a second. I mean, I can't build the roads faster than we can sell it or build it. It takes a lot of money to build these roads. They're not giving these things away. I have to have the dirt, I have to have the money coming or going to support the road. You know what I mean? Without building permits, without them keep building, we're not gonna get through this.
right, but it's
We
part of
need the revenue for the
it's part of
road.
the original contract agreement that this ramp is built and the road is finished.
I don't think there ever was an actual deadline of any kind.
No, so let me.
It was where I was gonna get the dirt, and that's how the way we went, that's the way we rolled through this.
Let me-
And I kept ahead of you.
Let me provide some context for everybody that's here. So, what Tammy's alluding to, what Mark's referring to, so Mark Stark is the controlling partner on the master development agreement of Manhattan Harbor with the city of Dayton. Developers that have done work there over the last couple of years are sub-developers. They're people that come to Mark, and they divvy out the land based on project approvals. So while Mark is not actively developing some of these residential projects, he and David Bowden are still the lead developers on the development agreement with the city. So our contract with the development is with and through them. One of the obligations of the developer is to complete a connection to Barry Street. Everything that's listed in the development agreement about the Barry Street connection has been met to date in terms of what they have done with it alludes to the East-West Road, which is Manhattan Boulevard, and that at certain times they are to submit drawings and construction drawings for the Barry Street connector. Everyone at council has those drawings. It's what Mark passed out as well. Those have been approved by the Planning Commission. So that aspect has been met. The issue is there is no timetable on when that Barry Street connector was supposed to go in. So even though they've met their obligation, there's still this pending project, but no timeline. Mark and I have had this conversation with the mayor, and I think what some of the council members are alluding to, Mark, is it's come to the point in the project where it's a safety issue, it's an economic development issue. We now have people living east of that connection point, quite a few people. And when you look at the safety and the economic development, I think that's what's driving a lot of this urgency with the city council and administration.
Well, my thing would be, maybe they should advertise a little bit, or get some advertisement over there. Let me explain to you. When last year on the bar business down there, my little bar, the restaurant in Davina, we did within $1,000 of what we did last year, okay? $1,000 with the apartment people. They kept telling me all year, oh, when they come down here, they're gonna be packed this place. I bet you we don't get 2 people a week that come down. And that's after I had a party for them. People are not going out, they're not going anywhere. It's a goddamn pandemic.
I understand.
I don't even go out.
I understand. But
And I love going out.
we're gonna get through the
I like
pandemic.
to party and drink.
But we have businesses that are open now, and there is a safety factor that is not like that. And we've got more development on the docket tonight that's going to approve, and leeway to more building permits being pulled here in the coming weeks.
Right.
So development is happening in that area, and not only for economic development reasons, which is important to everybody here, but there's a safety component too.
Well, it's been 5 years now. Those houses are 5 years old. I mean, it's taken a while to get people in down here. Finally, I think we're just ahead of schedule. You know what I mean? The area, I think, is booming. You know, but we're not selling it a hell of a lot of, houses. They were sold it.
Well, the lots are all sold.
The lots are sold, but, they're not building on them.
Mark, I want to ask you a question. I know everybody's concerned about the ramp, and I'm concerned about it too, but there's a little stretch of road just adjacent to your marina that would open up the roadway all the way through down there.
Right.
Instead of coming down by the marina, which I do, and I don't have a problem with, but I think if we had that little stretch of road done, that would alleviate some of the problems, not all the problems, but some of the problems. So I'm going to piggyback off of Mr. Boulders, do you have a time frame for doing just that? I don't know how many feet it is that.
There's probably about 400 feet there, and probably around 350 feet on the ramp, down the slope, coming in on your connector street.
Yeah.
I'm down there a lot. It's amazing to me how many people cut through. It's not that bad.
No, it's not bad. I'm not.
I mean, it's probably, it doesn't seem like it. You can sit there and watch, and it's obvious they come right down the driveway and leave.
No, I'd make the argument that Berry Street connection is more important than that last bit of road in terms of use.
Well, the last bit of road gets rid of that 14 or 15 acres in there, which is gonna help the development immensely, in my opinion. But, and we can do it, at the same time at that point, it's not that big a deal, there's not that much involved. Just, we probably need about 30,000 yards for both of them.
Mr. Starks, if I may, you said earlier when Mr. Volter asked about timelines that if you could get a construction job with the dirt,
Right.
that it'd be about 3 months for the construction.
Right.
And, I mean, I was on Board of Adjustments, I think 12 years ago when we approved this ramp. Are all the approvals by Corps of Engineer, County Planning and Zoning, are all of those taken care of already and we're just waiting on the dirt?
I think everything's done except going down and actually applying for the permit.
Okay.
Except for what, I'm sorry?
Except for the point, and physically paying for the permit. I think everybody's had revision drawings and it's been around. I don't think it's ever been etched in stone what we were actually doing.
Because I know a lot of the projects we've had around town, we're waiting on somebody to approve it. I just want to make sure
Well,
that...
that thing, we started sending that drawing out in 17. So they've had it for 3 years.
Has the Corps approved it?
Yeah, the Corps fine with everything. It was the sewer department and the electric.
Okay.
The overhead lines are going to be a problem, I'm afraid.
Can that work, or at least planning work, get started on that for the approvals needed with them and the
Well, that
funding?
was just expensive. That wasn't anything to do with, they were going to raise the poles.
Right.
Other than that, that was it.
And then as far as the sewer head that's down there, was
The
that?
sewer's fine, they were going to, let me extend the manholes out.
Okay.
It's on that drawing, one of the drawings, it's been revised, so,
So you're ready to go except for getting the dirt, correct?
yes, yes.
Thank you.
Excuse me, could you wear a mask?
Can I wear it?
Can you wear a
Yes,
mask?
yes, I
Thank you.
could.
Thank you.
Thought you would have to take them off when we're this far apart.
I don't know, it's all supposed to be distance and masks, and I haven't on
Sorry.
all disease stuff.
So I have a question. You said you're not getting any business down at the marina? It's packed every weekend with cars. Where are all these people? I'm not trying
Well,
to
they're
be
out- they're on their
controversial, I
boats.
just
They
stick
hang out on
eyes
their
on
boats
them.
mostly. When you go down there, I mean, the bar's not busy,
The bar's not open?
not busy. We're not open anymore now, we're closed.
Mark, if you don't have any, the projects you're waiting on, how hard would it be to get a hold of Goodfill separately from projects that you normally bid?
You can buy it and haul it.
Just from somebody else that's maybe got a job going that isn't something that you necessarily do. So I know
We pretty much know what's.
Brandon alluded that he's gotten some of his fill from Redknot for his
Right,
marina.
he did his, yeah, right, but he doesn't, you know. Then the last little bit he hauled down to Brendan's site down there.
Right, but I was just using that as an
Yeah.
example of what else is out there.
We gotta watch for contaminated. When they tore the bank down, we almost got that, but it turned out it was contaminated. So,
What would be a reasonable,
$10 a yard, probably 12, maybe the most.
what would be a reasonable timeframe, Mr. Stark? I know you're
I
trying to.
mean, hey, nobody wants to work more than Nelson Stark. I mean, they're always out hustling. If I can find somebody that beat us on the job, and there's dirt available, I'll talk to them. It's not a problem there at all. It's just the idea, it's not moving right now. It hasn't moved for about 6 months. I was telling Joe that we had the job across the street from where they built that big office building downtown. Right behind it, they were gonna build another one, like 90 foot deep, would have been all the dirt we ever needed. And they canceled that, but we had the contract. And that was a killer. That would have been good, that was, we would have hauled it by now. But they're on hold. I mean, and I just think this pandemic's a nightmare for everybody, you know? It's not over yet. I mean, and I guess, I'm hoping to God it's over soon.
It is a nightmare for everybody, but it's my understanding that construction hasn't stopped during this pandemic. Construction trucks been rolling through every week, every day for the last 6 months. I really would like to see this ramp done before the pandemic is over, so when it is done and over and everything's opened up back to normal, we have this access through Berry Street that comes through our central business district. It's going to help not only all the business owners in the city, because they don't even know we exist, but it's going to, what if there's a fire? These fire trucks have one entrance right now. If they come through on the east side, they've got to go around down through the marina and up, or they come in on through O'Fallon. It's an important issue in my book. It really is. It's one of the, I think, one of my
Well,
main
then we should have
goals.
put it on our thing that we wanted that done first. I've always said it was the last thing we were gonna do since the very beginning.
But it's been over 10
We had to
years.
tie the road in first and then come back and do that. You know? But I don't know what to tell you.
I do, you're eager to get out of town, and it doesn't matter what the city needs to benefit at some point in time.
But honey, no, wait a minute. I've never ever, in my 70 years of being around, not finished a job.
I know, but you just
If
said
I've never,
previously.
unless I would die. But other than that, I will get this thing done. It's just a matter of I don't have the dirt. It's that simple.
I mean, how does that sound that
I
the
can't.
developer of our $200 million property can't wait to get out of town? That's pretty,
No, I said I can't wait to be done. That's what I meant about getting out of it. I'm tired of cleaning the streets. You know, it's just a lot of work. And if it's over with, it's over. I don't want to do that anymore. And I don't, I mean, if I could be done, why wouldn't I get done?
that's a good question.
Are you think I'm trying to trick you?
Am I what?
Think I'm trying to trick you or?
No, I don't know. It's just been, it's been over 10 years, way over 10 years. And it's just,
Yeah.
I think at some point in time, we need to have at least a schedule, some kind of an ending.
Well, I'm glad to hear that all the permits and approvals, except for pulling the final construction permit, that all of those things are taken care of. So that we don't get into okay, you finally find the source for the fill, and then we gotta wait for somebody in Washington or Frankfurt or something like that. As long as those things are, as long as we have this checklist moving forward, that was my concern, that we were gonna run into another, we're waiting for.
Yeah, and I think we could, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, if the construction permit from the county is kind of the last piece of the puzzle, that's something you could submit for sooner than later, and if it gets approved, they usually approve it for a 12-month period, usually with extensions, obviously, if work hasn't started. Not that that's a long process, but it is a process that another box that we could check off in terms of a lot of those things that need to be done. If the utility aspect of it is more of just working with the sanitation district and versus having to get, permit approvals, that certainly speeds things up quite a bit, more than I would realize. So it's a good thing.
I just don't want to get into a situation where it's next October, November, and we find out that the asphalt plant shut down. We got to wait another 6 months. We run into that with Urban Terrace and other projects. As Mrs. Cornett said, this is pretty vital not only to the city and the businesses, but also the development itself. So,
Well, I think right now, it's still open-ended. And Mark, I know you're behind the 8 ball on some of this. You've stated why. But what if we put into the agreement that this thing needs to be done by October 1st, 2022? That's 2 years, on or before. On or before, because if you don't move dirt in 2 years, you'll be out of business. So at least, why don't we get that?
I don't like 2 years. I was, I told you, if he'd have asked me this a year ago, I'd have told you it had been done by now, without a doubt.
But if we have that in there, at least we got a time frame
That's fine.
on or
I got no problem
before.
with 2 years.
I think it should be 1 year.
Well, I'm just trying to,
Yeah, I know.
mediate the situation where we got at least a reasonable amount of time in there for him to complete.
well, I think that's going to take a rewriting or an amendment to the developers agreement, and I think maybe for the November or December meeting, you can talk with Mr. Stark, administration can discuss it with Mr. Stark.
Well-
Sooner the better, and then if it is an amendment or a revision to the developers agreement, it has to be approved by council, correct?
Correct, but I would probably suggest getting someone on the same page today versus us working on change that may not have any momentum.
Just at least a general consensus on what that date is, sounds like. But
Mr. Stark?
How about, if I may,
What I'll do is, I'll go ahead and file for the permit and get that going anyway, at least do that. I don't think that'd be a big deal.
well,
More expense.
and I would think, given the opportunity, if
Not to put a
it's,
bond up for
if
it.
it's on or before October 2022, obviously, if you get a job that has fill that allows you to get to the road, that's something you're going to jump at. And I would just imagine that at the same time you do the road, if we could get a commitment that you would start using some of the fill for the Berry Street connector, would ensure that if a job came up before the 2-year window, that we know that it's going to start at the same time. Because obviously you're going to jump at that opportunity to get fill and finish the road. Some of that went to Berry Street. It would obviously kickstart the progress on that.
Well, he says he wants to finish the job if he can. I believe him. I just want to be flexible enough and get a date, that's somewhat in concrete, so that we can get this thing in kind of behind us. And and I believe if he gets the dirt, he'll do the job. But I would like to have that in there. I think it's a reasonable time frame.
I think it is too.
Okay.
I'm not a problem with it.
Scott's answering
Scott asking, 2022, Scott asking, we would agree to anything, but Scott asked for 2021.
No, he said that he agreed to
Did
it.
he agree?
Did he agree to 2021?
2022.
No, he wants to know, would he agree to 2021?
Mr. Stark is asking if you agreed to October of 2021, or even if we pushed out. That's what Mr. Baser is asking on,
I thought it was 2 years.
that's what Mr. Volter,
2 years is fine, whatever that is, that's fine. I mean, that's,
Mr. Volter requested 2 years, Mr. Baser asked, I guess, October of 2021, which would be the year from today. Would you agree to 1 year?
no, I agreed to 2 years.
Hey, don't shoot the messenger, man.
No, I'm just saying, I thought he said 2 years.
And I don't want that to be the date that's written in stone. What I'm saying is on or before, you know.
Right, I agree, on or before.
So.
Mark, just to clarify, when these gentlemen speak up here, they don't speak collectively for the whole, they speak individually, and until they vote, do they speak collectively as a whole. So just to make clear, just because one of them says it, doesn't mean any of the rest of them are on board. They had to vote and all go along. The majority of them got to go along.
Well, the flaw in the whole situation is, like Mr. Stark said, over all the revisions of the developers agreement, nobody ever put a date on this particular access point. The city building money has a date on it, all the road improvement for Manhattan Harbor has a date on it. This portion does not. We need to agree on a date that's reasonable. We could always come back and change that date if market conditions continue to go sour like they are now. I would rather be, for the sake of our businesses, our citizens, our public safety, and the citizens that are moving in down there now, I'd rather be aggressive rather than too forgiving. And forgiving is the wrong word. I'd like to shoot for a target at the end of next year, December 31st, 2021, as a target date. If market conditions are still bad next year, we can always come back and revisit that, but at least that gives us a, 15-month timeline, and it prioritizes this with us, with the city, and also with the developers.
And I agree.
I want to ask a stupid question. How long have we been waiting on a sidewalk update in Pike? Now you're trying to put demands on this man when he told you he could not get dirt. You can't pull this stuff out of the air, guys.
It's a target date. And the difference...
With the COVID problem we have now, who's to say that it's not going to be there next year?
We can come back and revise that under those conditions. The deal with the sidewalk is...
You know what that means? It don't mean nothing if you say, well, we'll come back, we'll come back next year and we'll change it again, and change it again.
The difference with the sidewalk project has been, just like I mentioned before, we're waiting on these certifications. We're waiting on this agency. We're waiting on that agency. And that's what I want to get out of the way tonight, to make sure that all those boxes are crossed, and the only thing we're waiting on is dirt. I never thought we'd have a council meeting arguing over dirt, but here we are. I would prefer, and I don't know if this is, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, if this is a negotiation that needs to be done between administration and Mr. Stark and then brought before council rather than deciding on it tonight, because I don't think we can amend the developers agreement tonight.
No, and I can work through the fine print with Mr. Stark over the next month. I just want to make sure that I'm in the general ballpark of what I'm talking about. And I think I understand what you're saying. Between Tom and I, and Mark, and Paul and Arnold, I think we can come up with some language that's fair, that spells out a target date that would allow for flexibility, maybe up to what Jeff had originally proposed based on XYZ, some other things that have obviously come up tonight that are out of his hands. I just needed to know generality what we're shooting for, so I know where to start with that.
I want to make sure we're ready for, we're only waiting on one thing that we have no control over, which is the market conditions, but that everything else is taken care of. But I do, I was on council for at least one, if not two, of the revisions to the developers agreement so far, and I never noticed that there was no timeline on this portion of it. Come to a mutual agreement with the timeline, and bring it back to council for a vote for an amendment to, or a revision of the developers agreement.
And just to be fair, a lot of those things didn't have timelines on them before, because when it was initially drawn up, you're sitting there with nothing. There was
Correct.
nothing built, you know, so everything is
Based on development.
based on development, and based on the market conditions. Hence why we've kind of had to do amendments as we've gone along. So just to be fair, you know, some of that may involve, you know, a lot of that's predecessors to anybody in this room, but there was a basis for why they were doing what they were doing.
Understood. But this is a win-win situation, assuming we get it done. It's a win for the development down there and the people moving in down there, as well as the rest of the city.
I agree, I understand.
Make your land more valuable.
Exactly. I'm not disagreeing with anything. It's just the dirt.
Well, me and Mr. Giffen will get with Mr. Stark and Mr. Darville and hammer that out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Stark.
Don't
Appreciate
throw
it.
rocks when I leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. So we'll work together and bring something to the next council meeting, correct, Tom?
Correct. Whenever that is.
Yep, that's funny. That's this guy. The next thing on the agenda here today is to discuss the date for the November 2020 council meeting. We are in an election year, as I'm sure everybody is well aware of. Council always falls on the first Tuesday of the month, and the first Tuesday of November is traditionally the day that America votes. Due to that, traditionally, the city council has moved it to the third Tuesday of the month to make sure everyone has time to stand in lines, watch TV, whatever it is they do. So tonight, giving an announcement that the next council meeting for the city of Dayton, Kentucky is going to be moved to the third Tuesday of November 2020, which falls on the 17th. Obviously, we encourage everybody to get out and vote and join in the process.
Mr. Baker, Mayor Baker, in the past, we've made it the day after, we made it Wednesday, the day after the election of the, then you wouldn't have to make that a special day. But if you want to make it on the 17th, I don't have a problem.
I think if we did it the day after, it'd have to be a special bill.
No.
I'll defer to my attorney.
If we do it on a date that's not the Tuesday, I think we're going to declare it as a special.
Because third Tuesday's a regular meeting.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Third Tuesday's a regular meeting.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. I mean, if the Wednesday, third Tuesday's fine. If it's the Wednesday afterwards, it's a special.
If you have it the day after the election, I don't think, that's not a special day, Tom.
Usually, the argument would be, I guess your argument would be that it's some kind of declared holiday, but the problem is.
The day after?
Yeah, that election day is a holiday.
I'm not saying election day, the Tuesday's election day and the day after Wednesday, we've had council meetings the day after.
Special meetings.
Yeah, I think we'd have to declare that a special meeting.
I'd rather not
Because it's
do-
not declared some
I
kind of
don't
holiday
care.
where
It
it moves
doesn't
into
bother
the
me.
next
I'm not
day.
bothered.
I'd rather not do any more special meeting because it.
It's not a special meeting though.
According to the attorney, it is.
Because it's within 30 days of today.
Right, city council has 2 meetings a month, the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday. Typically don't do the third Tuesday because it's not necessary.
We know for a fact the 17th would not have to be a special meeting.
Well, it's going to be the 17th.
17th is good.
All right, so we'll have the next council meeting on November 17th, 7 o'clock, and hopefully it's in person as we are today. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the September 1st, 2020 council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by member Volter, second by member Ornette. Do we have any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? All in favor? We already did that. Moving along, the ordinance and orders. Tonight we're going to the second reading of 2020, number 12, the reason we're all here together. Tax rate for fiscal year of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2020, number 12. An ordinance providing for the imposition, levy, collection, and apportionment of taxes for the City of Dayton, Campbell County, Kentucky for the fiscal year July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. This ordinance sets the real property ad valorem tax rate for the city for the present year at .434 per $100 of value for the general fund and .050 per $100 of value for parks. The tax rates for automobile and personal property is set at .5009 per $100 of value and at .750 per $100 of value for all other properties. The ordinance requires that all real property or other tangible property, excluding motor vehicles and motorboats, taxes be paid by November 30th, 2020. Taxes not paid by this date shall become delinquent. Taxes paid during the first 3 days after they become delinquent will be assessed a 1% penalty. Any taxes not paid more than 3 days after they become delinquent shall be subject to a penalty of 10% and shall accrue interest at the rate of 12% per annum until paid. The delinquent taxpayer shall also pay all costs, attorney fees, and other expenses incidental to any action taken by the city for collection of the delinquent tax bill. The ordinance also sets the bank deposits at 25 thousandths of 1%, .025 of those deposits. The payer of these taxes may pay the sum due less 2% if paid by December 31st, 2020, or the full amount by January 31st, 2021. And this is the second reading.
Thank you, Ms. Leonard. That is the second reading. So I'd like to have a motion to accept the second reading of 2020, number 12, the tax rate for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, sir.
Member Neary has made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Lynn. I'd like to open up the table for any comments regarding this ordinance.
Well, it's just obviously good that the tax rate has dropped. It's the first time in a long time that I remember, so it's great.
Council, just be advised that there is one minor change in the details this year compared to our standard tax rate. There is a 3-day grace period after the due date that's written into the, before the penalty and interest starts to kick in. That's a little different than what we normally do. Normally at the due date, the day after the due date is done, but that's been changed for a little 3-day grace period.
Well, I think that's positive.
Trying to help people out, man, because
Nobody forgets. You've got 3 days.
not sure of the date and all of a sudden that's it.
Mayor, I'll make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I think this is outstanding. The city needs it. I commend the administration for getting this tax rate there. But ladies and gentlemen, I have a concern, and I'll be voting no, and that's just to me, because I'm afraid how you guys are going to spend this money. Since July, when we passed the budget for this city, I'd be ventured to say, I wondered how many times you're going to have to have a vote on how many times we have to amend that budget. So I'm concerned how you're going to spend this money, but I think you need it, so I don't have a problem. But my vote will be no. I'll let you know that, and that's the only reason.
Mr. Burns, do you have any comments regarding this ordinance?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I think this council tries to be fiscally responsible. You know, this hasn't been a normal year. You know, you just heard the developer in here talk about his problems. You know, we've had a lot of problems ourselves. You're well aware of the overtime hours that our first responders have had to put in, along with some other extra expenses due to the pandemic. But I think we're trying to be fiscally responsible at all times. I mean, that's going to be the biggest challenge. You are right about one thing. Holding the budget to a balanced budget is going to be tough over the next 2 to 4 years because new revenue streams don't come along. It's tough to be creative to find new revenue streams, but our expenses do continue to move along. So, yeah, the challenge for this council over the next several years is going to be to find new revenue streams and try to cut expenses while maintaining services. Because, you know, that's where the expense comes in. Our employees, and we need to keep very good employees in our city. We don't need to keep them moving out and losing and training them and having them go elsewhere. So I think we're, yeah, we might have to amend the budget here today, but I don't think it means we're not wisely spending the money.
Mr. Giffen, I believe you said in one of your emails, this is the first time since 2007 that the rate has gone down. 2008. And we're not doing this because we want to, it's because we have to, by law. By law, we can only take the compensating rate, which is the amount that we brought in property taxes last year, plus 4%. That's the maximum that we can take without putting it on the ballot. Now, I guarantee if you put it on the ballot to raise taxes, nobody's going to vote for it. So by law, we have to do this at this rate. It's great that we can do it at this rate. But let's look at the reason we can do this is because our property values went up a huge amount this year, both existing and the new development down on the river. So, yeah, we always have to be fiscally responsible. We're only going to be bringing in 4% more than we did last year on the property tax. But hopefully there'll be even more new properties and some properties that get flipped and everything, you know, improved, vacant homes turned into real homes. Something that was on the books for 40 grand is now on for 140. That's the progress that everybody on administration and council in the past has been working towards, and it's here. So, Bill, I absolutely agree. We're spending everything you bring in and then some. But I don't think this is being irresponsible to reduce it because, like I said, if it went on the ballot, we're going to be at the same rate anyway.
You listen to what I said I think we need it. I think the city of Dayton deserves it. I commend it from everybody on this board for getting there, and Mike on every administration. Just concerned how we're going to spend it.
I am too, Bill. But there are other revenue sources coming in besides just the property tax. We have the occupational tax, which hopefully as business picks up, there'll be more of that. If more people actually register their cars in Dayton, we'll be picking up license taxes and insurance taxes. So as more people move in, there'll be other revenue streams besides just the property tax. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burns, for your comments, and Mr. Bolter. Anybody else have any comments? All right, well, we had a motion, we had a second. We've had the comments, so that leads us to roll call. Don, can I get a roll call vote on this one, please?
Member Bolter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Cornett?
Aye.
Member Burns?
No.
Member Lynn?
5-1, the ayes have it. Second reading for the tax rate for fiscal year of Dayton lowering their taxes is passed. Well done. Let's move along to the first reading of 2020, number 13, adopting the City of Dayton Comprehensive Plan. Again, this is just the first reading for those who can vote.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2020, number 13. An ordinance amending, updating, and adopting the City of Dayton Comprehensive Plan. First reading.
Thank you, Ms. Ledger. Second first reading we have tonight is 2020, number 14, setting forth compensation and number of authorized positions. Ms. Ledger.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance number 2020, number 14. An ordinance amending ordinance 2020, number 8, setting forth compensation and number of authorized positions for employees under the Dayton Job Classification System. The only changes for the police lieutenant, the top of the pay range will be changed to $72,000, and the neighborhood project coordinator will be eliminated.
That again was a first reading. Thank you, Ms. Ledger. Now I think it's time to introduce an attorney who's very familiar with the City of Dayton, Kentucky. His name's Jim Parsons. Jim represents K&K Law, and Jim has worked extensive with us on many of our different issues. So, Jim, thanks for giving us your time this evening.
Yeah, glad to be here, and thank you for having me. We need to provide some explanation on the next two items that kind of relate to each other.
Yeah, we have two different items coming up, Order 2020 number 10 and Order 2020 number 11, both industrial revenue bonds regarding development. So if you wouldn't mind giving a good overview and answering any questions from the council, if you would.
First of all, just for informational purposes, council and to the public in general, industrial revenue bonds are issued by the city, but they're not the city's debt. They're clearly the debt of a private developer who's doing this. So, give you an example, the Arlington project is done, actually done in record time, was done under an IRB structure, but all that debt issued by the city, but there was no debt to the city relative to that. Probably about a year ago or more, council approved an inducement resolution where you agreed to authorize for the projects that are being undertaken by the Manhattan Development Group, a series of industrial revenue bonds for the financing of that project. That was conditioned upon a pilot agreement that was negotiated with the city and the Dayton Independent School District, whereby, quite frankly, the city gets 100% pilot payment, the county gets 100% pilot payment. The benefit, the city of Dayton and the Independent School District, I believe it's a 65% pilot payment. And so that's where the incentive is coming in, quite frankly, is on the school side of the tax rate in that circumstance. But they agreed to that. There's also some lump sum payments that will inure to the Independent School District relative to that situation. So just be aware of that. In this particular situation, even though you're issuing industrial revenue bonds, there is a 100% pilot payment back to the city and county. It's also structured in such a way that because this is a TIF district, none of this development is impacting the TIF equation and anything that's been done there. So that's the reason why we've got to have it set up as 100% pilot payment back to the city relative to that. Just for informational purposes, the two projects tonight are actually not rental, they're condo projects. So they're the first phase of the Lookout development. In addition to that, this first phase of the waterfront. They're all really being done under the auspices of Manhattan Development Group. But as you get closer to closing, you may have different entity names or special entities formed. That's why one of the deals, I think, for the waterfront has a different entity. That's only because as different sections get ready to move forward and get financed, you may have different lenders involved. You may have had different parties or investors in that. Even though the waterfront, the same group's involved, Manhattan Development Group's involved, but they have other investors in addition to them. And so we'll create separate entities as we move forward with all of these. Again, this is the first section. This is actually to allow the financing of the Lookout part of the project, to allow a financing of 6 condominium projects at a value of around $10 million. And the other one is the waterfront project. Would start that particular project with the initial 14 units, condo units, but there's actually that full build out of the waterfront will be upwards of 72 condominium units. And these are for sale at market rate there. And so as you'll probably be seeing as each of these phases start to come forward, and as you have separate financing come together, we'll have separate IRB transactions that will be going forward for each particular phase of the project. But these are the initial 2 that have moved forward. These have all been approved. The county's signed off on this also. We've also got approval of certain types of industrial revenue bonds. You have to have a public hearing in Frankfurt and approved by the state local debt officer. All that approval has been in place at this point. So that's kind of where we are. This is to allow probably the first series of residential for sale condominiums on the riverfront. And so I think it's a pretty exciting time that these can get started.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
I'd be glad to answer any other questions if there are any, council.
Council, please use this time to ask Mr. Parsons any questions.
Yeah, you said these are going to be condominiums?
They're condos for sale.
So what's that development we got there next to the
Lookout?
No, down next to the.
Tapestry?
Tapestry.
Tapestry is, I represent Arlington on that particular deal. That is a rental project, a residential rental project
Okay.
and market rate. I will say that, just for informational purposes, Tapestry, we haven't calculated the full pilot, although I know kind of where that's going to be. That added, you're going to get a value on that project this year of about $23 million. And then probably next year, I would assume the full value will go on.
Was it around 30?
38?
I don't know what the full value is going to come out at, but the actual full cost of that project was probably even higher than that. But a lot of times it doesn't value out exactly at what the cost is on these. So I'm just giving you an example of that one project. I have to always, Arlington does such a fast job in getting their projects done. I almost have to explain why all development doesn't get done that fast. But they've done an outstanding job of getting that one up and done. And their occupancy is really good right now. So.
The rumor that I've heard that they're gonna change that from apartments to condominiums.
That isn't correct.
Okay.
Arlington,
Thank you.
Arlington, their whole process, and they do market rate rental.
Good.
In fact, they're about the old former Chase Law School site in Covington, where I actually went to law school. They're actually, Arlington is about to close on that site and build, about 260 or so market rate residential. They do not do condo projects.
They typically stick around and do the management.
They do. They have that whole group on Arlington side has a management company that runs it. The reason they can do these projects so fast is they often bring their own people in. They have their own construction group that comes in and does a lot of the work, and that's why they're able to get these things done.
I want to thank you for squashing that rumor because
it is, yeah.
Rumors fly, and I don't want to see them. I think what they've done down there at Tapestry is excellent. I know some few tenants down there, and I hate them to lose their leases.
It's not, there's no plan, as far as I know, and I talk to William Morse about every day, and I can call him for the deal. He's not indicating any issue.
Mr. Parsons, when I heard you say our schools are getting 65% of the pilot, I think people need to understand that's a really good rate.
That's a good, I will tell you that the pilot rate negotiated with the Dayton school system is the kind of the best school pilot we have. Because I do most of the work, like our firm does a lot of IRB work. That's a very good rate. And actually, if people don't, even though the school district's giving up locally 35%, they're actually, that's actually in a sense a benefit to them because and I don't want to make this too complicated, but school taxes are a combination of state funds coming in from SEEP and local taxes. And interestingly, if this was on the tax duplicate, even if we didn't use IRBs, if this was on the tax duplicate and they got 100% of the taxes, and there was no incentive, they may actually
lose money
because they would lose state money from the SEEP side, because as your local assessment goes up, your state subsidy goes down.
Right.
And so that's why a lot of times these school districts are willing to negotiate and participate in these pilot deals because they can still get the project done, help us an incentive, but they don't lose state monies, and that's overall a benefit to them.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Parsons regarding these two ordinances?
I think these are orders, actually.
Right.
Sorry, let me correct.
Attorneys and your words, yeah, I know. I appreciate you updating me on that, sir. Okay, so that brings us to the reading of Order 2020, number 10, Industrial Revenue Bond between the City of Dayton and Manhattan Development Group LLC, or its signs, the Lookout Project.
Order number 2020-10R, an order of the City Council of the City of Dayton, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of up to $8,500,000 maximum aggregate principal amount taxable industrial revenue bond, Series 2020A, and up to $2,500,000 maximum aggregate principal amount taxable industrial revenue bond, Series 2020B, in order to assist Manhattan Development Group LLC or its assigns to finance the acquisition, construction, and equipping of the industrial building facility located within the City of Dayton, Kentucky. and to approve said facility, authorizing the issuance of additional bonds. Provide for the pledge of revenues for the payment of said bonds, authorizing a lease agreement between the City of Dayton, Kentucky and Manhattan Development Group, LLC, or assigns, with respect to the facility, the agreement, authorizing a trust indenture appropriate for the protection and disposition of such revenues and further to secure the payment of said bonds, authorizing a bond purchase agreement, authorizing a home office payment agreement, authorizing the execution of an open-end lease mortgage and security agreement with a joiner by the city, and authorizing a pallet mortgage to secure the payment obligation in the pallet agreement, which are pledged in part to the payment of the Series 2020B bonds.
Thank you, Ms. Ledger.
And this one's the Lookout project.
That's for the Lookout Project Order 2020, number 10. We've had a reading. Do I have a motion to accept Order 2020, number 10?
I make that motion, we adopt Order 2010.
Member Burns has made the motion that we adopt Order 2020-10. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Volter. It opens up the floor for any comments regarding this order. Do we have any comments regarding it? 3, 2, 1. Comments are closed. Motion has been made, second has been made. Ms. Ledger, would you please give me a roll call vote?
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Your Honor.
Member Cornett?
Aye.
Member Burns?
Aye.
Member Lynn?
Aye.
Member Volter?
Aye.
The order passes unanimously. Let's move us along to a very similar order. Order number 2020, number 11, the industrial revenue bond between the City of Dayton and SSCC as the Sierra Sierra Charlie Development, LLC, or its assigns, the waterfront project. Ms. Ledger, please.
Order number 2020-11R, an order of the City Council of the City of Dayton, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of up to $6 million maximum aggregate principal amount taxable industrial building revenue bonds, Series 2020A, and up to $2 million maximum aggregate principal amount taxable industrial revenue bond, Series 2020B, in order to assist SSCC Development, LLC, or its assigns, to finance the acquisition, construction, and equipping of the industrial building facility located within the City of Dayton, Kentucky, and to improve said facility, authorizing the issuance of additional bonds, providing for the pledge of revenues for the payment of said bonds, authorizing a lease agreement between the City of Dayton, Kentucky and SSCC Development, LLC, or assigns, with respect to the facility, the agreement, authorizing a trust indenture appropriate for the protection and disposition of such revenues, and further to secure the payment of said bonds, authorizing a bond purchase agreement, authorizing a home office payment agreement, authorizing the execution of an open-end leasehold mortgage and security agreement with a joiner by the city, and authorizing a pallet mortgage to secure the payment obligation in the pallet agreement, which are pledged in part to be the payment of the Series 2020B bonds, and this is the waterfront project.
Thank you, Ms. Ledger. So the order's been read for 2020, number 11. Do we have a motion to accept 2020, number 11?
Make a motion, we adopt 2020-11.
Member Burns has made the motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Neary. Do we have any comments regarding 2020, number 11? 3, 2, comment section's closed. Ms. Ledger, can I please have a roll call?
Member Baszler?
Aye.
Member Cornett?
Aye.
Member Burns?
Aye.
Member Lynn?
Aye.
Member Volter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
The ayes have it, passes unanimously. 2020, number 11 passes.
As always, appreciate all the support from the city.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That is it for the orders and ordinances for the evening. I'd like to move along now to the city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two quick things. First, regarding the Economic Development Fund, as you all recall, you all had approved $8,500 from the Economic Development Fund for the mural. That project is obviously done. I think everybody is beyond thrilled at the results. It looks fantastic. One thing that, well, a couple things. First, during the process, we decided to put a clear coat on it that was not part of the original quote to us. And the reason we did that obviously is for longevity. And then I missed in the initial quote that the cost didn't include lift costs. The two of those costs combined came to $2,141.70. So I'd like to ask the motion for a council to approve that amount out of the Economic Development Fund to be paid.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the payment of $2,147 to cover the cost of the clear coat and lift costs for the mural
Mr. Volkers made the
out of the
motion.
Economic Development Fund.
Mr. Volkers made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Lynn. Is there any comments regarding it?
Just one quick, it was $2,141.70.
I'm sorry.
Clerical.
I'll amend my motion to be $2,141.70.
I'll make a comment, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
It behooves me that when you write a contract, I'm not getting on you, Michael, that they didn't clearly specific that it costs this, and this. You go out and buy a house or go buy a car, and you sign a contract and that's it. Now they're going to come back later. I don't have a problem with the mirror, guys. I'm just saying I just think it's a little ridiculous they came back and asked for more money.
But it did say 8,500 plus lift costs.
Paid for after.
It said 8,500 plus lift costs. I didn't see that, and I didn't ask what those costs were, so therefore.
Just expressing my opinion.
Actually, just for clarification.
I think it looks great. It looks fantastic.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments regarding? All in favor?
Aye.
No.
I was going to ask her if there's any nays, but okay, so we have one name, Mr. Burns. Do we have any
I
other nays?
didn't vote yes for the mural, so why should I vote yes for this? I mean, let's be honest with you.
No, that's fine. I understand your position, sir. Do we have any other nays other than Mr. Burns?
I abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain, Scott.
So 4-1 in favor. Mr. Giffen, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. The last bit has to do with the public hearing earlier regarding municipal aid, and just some further clarification. You all had originally approved $50,000 for the co-op project we did on Urban Terrace, which seems like it was decades ago. Anyway, there was $6,000 of overage over that, and that had to do with the road collapsing, unforeseen issues when they were milling and paving. I was able to cover some of that through just our general fund, but what was left is $4,680. So I'd like to ask for a motion to approve an additional $4,680 out of municipal road aid to pay those invoices.
Mr. Giffen's asked for an extra $4,680 for the municipal aid fund for the road on Urban Terrace. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Member Lenz made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Scott.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay.
Ladies first. So, seconded by Member Cornett. Any comments concerning?
Who is this payable to?
Regular blacktop.
We need to get them back up there before we pay them this money. There are areas, especially around the storm drain at the top of Urban and closer to 10th Street where they came, if you go up there during the rainfall, it's going right around those grates. And I asked this when we started this project, if we find out when it rains, will they come back and fix it? The answer that I was given was yes, they would. I think before we give them this money, I'd like to see those areas repaired. They're not functioning as I think SD1 designed. They said even a medium rainfall, it's going right around those grates because it's not, the grade is not going towards those grates, and especially up against the curbing.
So before we pay them, can we get SD1 to go up and evaluate the situation?
Yeah, sure.
I prefer that really because
So, Member Gary's asked for us to have repairs done before the payment.
So does that table this motion then?
No, you go ahead
If you
and pass the
approve it,
motion,
contingent
then
upon-
administration can agree just not to write the check and give it to them until they do those things.
I'll hold it to you all are satisfied. Make it contingent upon completion.
Okay.
The administration can do that part on their own, but they need you to approve before they spend out of the municipal road, which you guys are talking about now. But unless you approve spending the money, he can't actually spend the money, but he can.
I don't want him to spend the money until it's fixed.
Well, that's what I'm saying, he can hold the check.
Approve it with conditions, I'll hold the check. I'll hold the check regardless.
Okay.
We're good at that.
So does the motion have to be amended then, Tom?
No, that's what I'm saying, is they can do that outside of the scope of the motion.
Okay.
On their own as administration, they can just hold on to it until they get the answers they want. But you have to make a vote on it
And I'll get with you on the
before
specifics.
he can do, he can't actually ever give them the check until you vote yes.
Michael, especially since your position on the task force, this falls right in line with that.
Right.
So if you could make sure that you meet with Member Neary, Michael, see his concerns, make sure that they satisfy his concerns, and then I'll sign the check, and not until then.
Well, we've only had a little bit more than an inch of rain since Labor Day. It's hard to tell, but I know during some of the rainfalls, there's still some issues. I've had some complaints from residents up there too, so. Yeah, before you give them the check, let's make sure everything's checked.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments regarding the municipal aid fund for $4,680 for Urban Terrace? Roll call, please.
Member Cornett? Aye. Member Burns?
Aye.
Member Lynn?
Aye.
Member Bolter?
Aye.
Member Neary?
Aye.
Member Baszler?
Aye.
All in favor? Good. Anything else, sir?
I guess just for clarification, so technically, we haven't paid them anything yet. But I can pay them up to that, so that 50,000 max hasn't been reached, it will only be reached when I pay all of the bills, and they go over by that amount, 4,680. Do you all want me to hold it all, or pay up the portions that don't affect? Because I have them in different invoices.
Hold it all.
Okay, all right.
You hold it all, Tim.
No checks are signed to River Blacktop until everything is taken care of and finished. Project.
Why would you give them
I
that?
think that's fair.
Everybody walk away from it for that.
That's all I have there.
Thank you for your report, sir. Which moves us along on the agenda to the city's attorney report, Mr. Edge.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, sir. We're about to move to audience, but one thing from my mayor's report I want to make sure everybody knows about, and that is October 31st is not only Halloween, All Hallows Eve, but it is also Shred Day. So if you have any documents, paper laying around the house that you'd like to have shredded, we will be at the monument. You may or may not be in costume, and we'll be shredding your documents in a safe manner. So please take advantage of this free service that's being offered to us. And,
All day?
10 to 2, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Right, 2 hours.
2 hours.
We do a lot of shredding in 2 hours. It's going to be fun.
It's also the night we turn the clocks back and get an extra hour of 2020.
Thanks for reminding us, Joe. Okay, so that is the last of my meeting. We would like to turn open the podium for anybody from the audience to approach council.
Okay.
Why don't you put that in hip to use?
I'm working on
It's
it.
all part of the physical therapy, right?
They didn't order any visit there.
Oh.
And then, just before we get started on the audience comment, because I know the city council and the mayor know this, but just so that way everybody's aware of it. It's free reign as to what you want to talk about. The problem is, for the city council, they can only act what's listed on the agenda. So they might hear something that's outside the scope of what's on there,
We can't.
but they can't actually take any action on it here tonight, just to be fair.
I have no expectation of that anyway.
But just so that way, if anybody wants to, it's not, in this particular case, it's not because they don't want to or anything like that. It's because they're legally obligated to where they can't because of the special meeting.
I'm sort of like COVID, I'm just not going away, so.
Thanks for
Sorry about your luck.
Sure.
Just two questions, just for my edification, I guess. is that Takira, and I don't say the name very well, the portable restaurant in the parking lot.
Taqueria No Go.
Thank you. How long a lease, I assume there's a lease in place for them, is that correct?
It is a month-to-month lease.
Okay.
They are paying $50 per spot for the space. And I believe they will be in a brick and mortar. Mr. Yoder?
Yes, it should be a brick and mortar next month.
Awesome.
So the lease was through basically the end of October, and we did, just in case things happen, we can extend it month to month beyond that. But we expect them in there if not by the end of this month, sometime in the first half of next month.
And they're going to be in Dayton, is that?
Yeah,
that's no reason.
I'm sorry, 526 6th Avenue, the blue building next to the fire station. That's why we did this.
Okay, I just,
Yeah, okay, good. Now, just want to understand. The reason why we did this is they had rented a place,
okay,
and to help tide them over and kind of introduce them to the community, we put them there while their place they rented was getting retrofitted. I've been in there, and a lot of kitchen equipment's in there.
Good.
It's coming along very nicely.
excellent. Because I thought during the winter it would not be the most desirable location that they currently are.
But amazingly, people in the 100-degree sweltering heat sat there.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Some people like cold, some people
Well, I think, well, never mind, well, that's another subject. I'd like to kind of reiterate something that Bill Burns said, because as you all clearly know, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I get very concerned about monies that suddenly have to be taken out of a budget, added to a budget where they were not previously allocated. And just tonight, if my math is right, which I cannot count on, we're talking about roughly $7,000 that, as far as I know, was not previously allocated for. And if we run on that trend on a monthly basis, that's a nice healthy chunk of change. And Jeff, you mentioned something about, trying to balance the budget. The only way you're balancing the budget is by taking from the reserve fund. The reserve fund has a bottom somewhere, and I'm concerned about depletion of the reserve monies that all of the taxpayers have contributed to over the course of time, and I'd just kind of like to see it stay. So just from a standpoint of a mural on the side of a building, and it looks great, and I wish I could do that to half of my house, but one, it's not on property that the city owns, and that defies logic to me, is that you're putting public money onto a private building, and so can I basically save my $10,000 to put a mural inside my house and you'll pay for it?
Which way is it face?
Basically, we can make it, pretty much make it face any direction you want. If you want to give it 10 grand to paint part of the house. But that part, I just do not understand. Putting public money onto a private building.
That's fair. I mean, the explanation behind that is the location. The building was right in the central business district. Many times municipalities offer public funds from the economic development funds towards public art, as many interest or studies show that it raises economic development in the neighborhood.
And I'm not debating that point, but I guess part of it is that there were years ago, and it wasn't that long ago, years ago there was a big debate that previous administration, the mayor was flatly against putting any money into anything remotely related to art. And that's all fine and dandy, but as I recall, I thought that the mural that was suggested at that time, the cost was roughly, I want to say about $3,000. This is closer to 10.
No.
The other one was
way high.
Was it really?
23,000, 23 total.
Yeah, this is
But the city contribution was not that much.
11,000.
It was half.
We had, that council had originally committed towards paying half of that, which I believe was 11,000 some odd dollars. Total cost, then Artworks was going to do the rest, to cover the rest of it. We gave them a down payment of I think $2,700. Then it was canceled.
Exactly.
So there was only an expended, even though we didn't end up with a mural, that would have been $11,000 for a much smaller area on the side of the museum.
And the museum, which would also have been not as
Visible.
exactly. trying to activate the Main Street is one of this administration's biggest goals, and we think we did a really good job with that.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, Arthur. What I'm concerned about is spending money that, I'm not going to say it's frivolous, but there are some other things I believe that may not create beauty, but would certainly increase functionality or safety, removing safety issues. Some smaller projects, you might get more bang for your buck in terms of actually seeing a return on the investment by not getting trip and falls and that kind of stuff, when we could address it. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
So my point being is that just be mindful of the fact there are only roughly, if I understood the data correctly, there are roughly 5,000 people in the city and roughly 2,100 tax-paying residents or owners.
Parcels.
Is that not right?
Parcels, yeah.
Okay. So if you look at per capita cost on all the projects for taxpayers, not residents, taxpayers, because we put the bills, it starts to get a little heady after a while. So I'm just asking to please be mindful of the money in my pocket, if for no other reason that I get new increases in my compensation, and I can't afford to finance murals when I can't afford to paint my house. So just be mindful. Thank you.
As always, appreciate your comments.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I'm not jesting.
I know. Or you say you're not.
The podium is still open for anybody who'd like to address council. Myself. We're going to close the podium. 3, 2, 1. All right, give me a chance, guys. As always, I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Hope everybody's family stays safe. And,
New business, old business?
No, not on tonight's.
Special meeting.
You have to wait another month.
Appreciate everybody's time. Stay healthy, stay happy.